Open this safe, and $200 million is yours. The billionaire sneered. He tossed the challenge like a bone to a dog, and if you can't, well, you can go back to scrubbing floors like your mother. The laughter in the room was loud, cruel, bouncing off marble walls like bullets. But 60 seconds later, the room went silent because the maid's son didn't flinch. He smiled. And the lock clicked open. It was one of those nights when wealth pretends to care. The annual Langford Foundation Gala ballroom full of champagne, fake smiles, and men who thought money could buy character. At the center of it all stood Richard Langford, billionaire industrialist, known for his ego as much as his empire. He was the kind of man who could donate $10 million to charity, then mock the waiter serving his drink without blinking. The chandeliers dripped light like melted diamonds. Waiters moved like shadows, silent and careful, and in the far corner stood Naomi. One of those shadows, a maid who had been cleaning the Langford estate for nearly a decade. She worked quietly. Always had. But tonight, she wasn't alone. Beside her, helping clear glasses and refill trays, was her 17-year-old son, Malik. Naomi had begged him not to come. "These people don't see us," she'd said. Malik just smiled. "Then maybe it's time someone did." Malik wasn't like the other staff. He didn't bow his head when rich men passed. He looked people in the eye, and that was his first mistake. Richard noticed him almost instantly. A young black boy in a crisp white shirt. Quiet but unafraid, clearing plates near the grand table. "Hey, kid," Richard called out, voice dripping with amusement. "You lost? This isn't the kitchen." The laughter followed. Dozens of suits chuckling in unison. Malik turned, met the billionaire's gaze, and said calmly, "No, sir." "Just doing my job," Richard smirked. "You've got manners." "I like that. Tell me, ever seen a real safe?" He gestured to the large silver vault displayed near the stage. It was the size of a small car, sleek and cold under the ballroom lights. "That," he said proudly, "is the future of security. My company's masterpiece. Biometric locks. AI encryption. Unbreakable." He paused, eyes narrowing with mischief. "Tell you what, kid. You open that safe, and I'll give you $200 million. The room exploded in laughter. Naomi's heart froze. "Sir, please," she whispered, stepping forward. "He's just a boy," Richard waved her off. "Relax, Naomi. It's a joke. Unless your genius son can actually do it." Malik set his tray down. The room felt strangely quiet. He looked at his mother, her eyes begging him not to, and then back at the billionaire. $200 million? He asked softly. Richard chuckled. "That's right. All right," Malik said. "But you said if I open it." Richard blinked. "What?" "I just want to be sure," Malik said, "because when I do, I don't want you saying it was luck." The laughter came again, uneasy this time. Richard gestured grandly. "Be my guest, kid. 60 seconds. Show us how smart you think you are." Malik walked to the safe. The floor reflected his every step. His hands didn't shake. His eyes scanned the vault like they'd been studying it for years. He knelt down. The crowd leaned in. The safe gleamed with digital panels, biometric sensors, pressure locks, code wheels. Richard crossed his arms. "You won't even scratch it," he muttered, but Malik wasn't guessing. He was listening. He pressed his ear to the cold metal, tapping the surface gently, counting rhythms in his head. Then he looked at the biometric scanner. A faint hum. He noticed something the others didn't. The system was in demo mode, meaning the biometric pattern was a placeholder, not a real user print. He smiled. "You built it for show, not for security," he said quietly. "What was that?" Richard asked, voice tight. Malik ignored him. He pressed 3 fingers to the scanner, holding steady, reading the heat pulse interval by instinct. Then he reached for the code panel, pressing the first number, then the second, then paused. Everyone watched. Spellbound. He entered the last sequence. The room went silent. Click. The safe opened. For a long, breathless second, no one moved. then gasps. Murmurs and the sound of Richard's own disbelief. He walked forward slowly, his perfect smile cracking. How did you? Malik stood straight. You said it was unbreakable. You were wrong. Richard's face reddened. What? How could you possibly? I've been studying law since I was 12, Malik said simply. When you don't have money, you learn to fix what you can't replace. I guess that's the difference between building something and understanding it. The crowd erupted, not with laughter this time, but stunned applause. Richard stood there, his empire suddenly small in the face of a boy who had nothing to lose and everything to prove. He looked at Naomi, who stood trembling at the edge of the crowd. That's your son? He asked quietly. She nodded. Yes, sir. For the first time, his voice softened. You raised a genius? Naomi smiled faintly. No, sir. I raised a survivor. The next morning, headlines burned across every screen. Billionaire mocked Maid, son boy opens. His $200 million safe. It went viral overnight, but Malik didn't care about fame. What mattered to him was what came next. Richard called him to his office. This time, there was no smirk, only respect. You embarrass me, Richard said. Malik met his gaze calmly. That wasn't my goal. I know, Richard replied. You just reminded me what I forgot: what hunger looks like, what purpose feels like. He reached into his desk and slid a contract across the table. I want you to design for me, he said. No tricks, no showpieces. Real security for people who need it. Malik smiled. For everyone? For everyone, Richard said. Months passed. Malik built what Richard's billion-dollar engineers couldn't align of affordable, hack-proof safes for small businesses and families. He called it Project Dignity. When asked why, he said, because every lock should protect, not divide. Richard funded it entirely, and at the next gala, there was a new centerpiece. Not a vault, not a display of wealth, but a scholarship fund for underprivileged students, named after Naomi Thompson. That night, Richard stood at the podium, his voice shaking slightly. He turned to Malik, now dressed in a suit of his own. Last year, he said, I asked the boy to open my safe. I thought I was testing him, but it turns out he was testing me. He paused, smiling, and I failed. Until now, the audience rose to their feet. Naomi cried quietly in the front row. Malik approached the microphone. His voice was calm, humble, but heavy with truth. When you told me to open your safe, I thought it was about proving myself. But I learned something else. The hardest locks aren't made of metal. They're made of pride. And the only way to open them is with humility. The applause that followed wasn't just for him. It was for everyone who had ever been overlooked, underestimated, or told they didn't belong. That night, the Maid's son didn't just open a vault. He opened the eyes of a man who thought he owned the world. Because sometimes, the richest person in the room isn't the one with money. It's the one with the courage to prove that worth has no price tag. Tell us in the comments. Would you have taken the challenge if you were in Malik's place? Where are you watching from? Subscribe for more cinematic stories that remind us respect isn't given by wealth, it's earned by truth.